President Donald Trump sending markets on a roller coaster ride amid his policy changes, especially trade policy. For more on this dynamic, we've got Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman, who wrote about this in the latest Trumponomics. Of course, President Trump saying this week he is not paying as much attention to the stock market this time around, and his Treasury Secretary has talked about paying more attention to the 10-year, but nonetheless, it does seem like there is this, as you called it, a game of chicken.
I think this is the week that Donald Trump developed a fully adversarial relationship with markets. And obviously that it relates to the tariffs that went in place on Canada and Mexico. And then we had this jumping around all week. I'll just summarize this. My favorite economic note of the week comes from Capital Economics. They say, Trump tariff push descends into farce. For those keeping score, Trump has now imposed tariffs on Canada and Mexico that almost immediately done a U-turn twice in a single month. And we're just going to get more of this. So who knows where it's headed? We should discuss whether Trump cares about the stock market anymore or not. Maybe he's just saying that because the stock market is performing badly. I mean, we're not having a crash here, but the U.S. market is underperforming the European market, the Hong Kong market, the Chinese market, even the Mexican stock market. I just got my Yahoo Finance alert saying this is the worst week for the S&P since last September. So does Trump not care about the markets anymore? If he doesn't care about markets anymore, I think that's a paradigm shift for investors because, sort of the rule of thumb with Trump is, yes, he's going to threaten a lot of tariffs, but at the end of the day, markets will be a corrective on anything Trump does that gets too far out of hand. And maybe not. Maybe Trump is going to get out of hand and he's not going to let markets put a check on him this time around.
Do you think there'd be a point, Rick? Because that was something strategists often brought up in this show, that traditionally Trump does look to the stock market as a kind of report card on the administration. So you think maybe there would still be some point where, okay, there's just too much red for too long and he would reverse?
I think here's the way I kind of think about this question is, what is Trump's retreat threshold? How much pain does he have to impose upon markets before he backpedals or he actually changes his policy? So I think we got some hints about that this week. He put full-on 25% tariffs on mostly everything from Canada and Mexico. He made an exemption only for auto parts, but then he got all kinds of complaints. I'm sure CEOs were calling him up. The market went down a few points and a few points more. So then Trump changed it. Well, he's going to make a bigger exemption for this other batch of products. It looks like it covers about half of all those imports now, but that's only temporary. It's for 1 month. So Trump blinked, but what's he going to do next? I mean, if we have markets falling 4% a month for the duration of Trump's tariff regime, that's going to get ugly. That's an ugly year for markets. So is 4% his threshold? Is 10% a stock market decline his threshold? Or does he not care at all? I mean, remember, unless he actually does think he's going to become king and run for a third term, or maybe not even bother running, he is not running for re-election this time, and he's got a freer hand to do whatever the heck he wants.
Well, and he is also surrounded by people who are on the same page as him. I mean, what we're discussing is what the markets have come to call the Trump put, right? What is that level to which stocks will fall that then will force his hand? Ed Yardeni put it another way when we talked to him yesterday. He called it the stock vigilantes, much like the bond vigilantes who try to force a government's hand when it comes to a debt position. Now maybe you have stock vigilantes, but you had President Trump in his comments to Congress this week talking about a little discomfort in the short term, right? But you also had his Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, calling this a sort of detox, right, in an interview of government support for the U.S. economy and a shift to more of a privately supported system. So I guess what I'm saying is there does seem to be more of a willingness on the part of the administration to ride this out for these sort of philosophical reasons, if you will.
You could look at it another way, Julia, which is it's just all gobbledygook. I mean, imagine Trump ran on all this last year in 2024. He didn't run on this. Let's keep in mind, he ran on inflation and getting prices down and trying to fix the things about the economy that voters didn't like at the time. He did not run by saying, oh, we're going to have a little disturbance, which is what he said at his speech this week, but we're okay with that. We're okay. By the way, who is okay with a little disturbance? I mean, he didn't check with me. Did he check with you guys? Are you guys okay with a little disturbance? I don't know. You could argue that of all the things that are broken in the United States, the corporate sector is not one of them, and the amazing efficiency of companies reflected in the terrific U.S. stock market is something you shouldn't mess with. So why is Trump doing this? When I hear his aides, Besson and Lutnick mostly, talking about, oh, they want to reformulate the whole economy, I think they're just apologizing for the damage Trump is causing, because there's no coherent theory here. Trump loves tariffs. We've talked about this a million times. We will talk about it a million times before. This is not the correct solution to the problem that he identified, but he believes it is. So I think we're just going to struggle through this, and we're going to hear a lot of apologies in the form of new theories and reformulations from Trump and his aides.
And we'll talk to you about it next week on another Trumponomics. Rick, thank you. Appreciate it.